Hi folks, welcome back to some more Hobby Nightmares. It is Wednesday, I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. I swear, my body right now is trying to be ill. You know, I've got like, tingly feelings in my nostrils, I've got like, a bit of a head cold going on, but I feel fine. So I'm hoping it stays this way and I don't become really, really ill because I think I'm okay though. I don't know why, I think I'm okay because generally, I've lost quite a lot of weight over the last year, and I think maybe my immune system is doing quite well, because this time last year, I was really ill with a cold, so maybe things are going well that way. I don't know, is that how it works? You lose weight, your immune system gets better? I don't know. Answers in the comment section down below. Let's jump in, shall we, to some more Hobby Nightmares with Ironers. And he says, "Hi North, I pray that this email finds you and yours rather well." Thank you very much, mate. You may call me Ironers, okay? I came across your channel whilst listening to Warhammer channels at work, and it has been both hilarious and horrifying listening to the Hobby Nightmares. In listening to the various nightmares, I believe that my own nightmare is a bit different than the usual, and I am compelled to share it with you, okay? Here is some background history that becomes relevant later in the story. I first got into playing Warhammer Fantasy Battles in 1993 when an older friend I was playing Rifts with showed our role-playing group his binder of a photocopy of the 3rd edition rules. I found it to look quite interesting and thought I'd give it a try. I chose to play Undead because it looked like it would be easy to paint, because the army was mostly skeletons of various sorts. Of course, by this time, the 4th edition had been released, and my army choice ended up being the cheapest because it was mostly plastic, and I bought a lot of it. I must have had close to 80 plastic skeleton spearmen and warriors, both for big units and for raised dead. Skip forward to 1998. No, 1988? No, 1998. I know, skip forward. We're going backwards. No, we're going forwards. Skip forward to 1998, and we were well into the 5th edition at this point. Whilst I had bought some of the new metal minis, I kept using the 4th edition plastic skeletons because I had so many and I liked playing big units of infantry. Also because they were effectively weightless, I did not have to use very much blue tack to keep them adhered to their movement trays. That's good, alright. God, I'm going back in time here through this, man, like the old movement trays, the old skeletons. This way before my time. Way before, but I imagine some of the greybeards are nodding sagely right now, listening to this. In December of 1998, my group of friends planned out a multiplayer session of 4 players on 2 huge tables, bigger than the standard 7 foot by 4 foot, and tons of terrain covering the boards. It was a free-for-all, with the player having the last standing mini as the winner. However, the only room that was big enough for this setup was a detached garage. Okay? I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Oh my god. Yeah, you're going to be freezing. You're going to be freezing. December in Alberta can get very cold, and the evening we played, the temperature was below minus 25 degrees Celsius. Dude, that is frostbite weather. What are you doing? One gust of wind comes through that area, and you're suffering. 5 minutes in that, you're getting frostbite. What are you doing? What are you doing? So, do you guys remember a few years ago, Chicago had a polar vortex, right? And they said that the lake, the frozen lake, was colder than Mars. Like a lot colder than Mars. Yeah, I was there for that. So we went outside, me and the missus at the time, and I had like a pot noodle, and I got it, and it was so cold, I lifted the pot noodle, which was boiling hot, I lifted the noodles out for like 5 seconds, let the fork go, and it stayed there. Frozen. Right, and that was like minus 20. This is minus 25. This is far colder. And not far colder, you know what I mean? 5 degrees make all the difference, man. This is cold as balls. The garage was sort of insulated and barely heated. But we were young, 20-ish-year-old nerds who loved playing Warhammer, and it did not seem that cold as long as we kept our jackets and boots on as we played away. I had set up close to one corner, using the edge to protect my army's right flank as I moved slowly towards my closest opponent, my friend who plays Skaven. On turn 2, we clashed, and my skeleton spearmen started taking casualties, and that's where my hobby nightmare begins. I reached down to start removing skeleton spearmen, and I heard a strange quiet pop. I was a little bit in shock as I found I was holding a plastic skeleton with no feet. In the cold of the garage, the blue tack had frozen solid, and the plastic skeleton had gotten somewhat brittle and gave way at the ankles. We all had a good laugh at this, except it kept randomly happening as I removed skeletons. I was not worried, as I figured I could just glue everything back together after the game. And then things got worse. As the game progressed, the plastic skeletons just got more and more brittle. Arms and legs could break into pieces, heads would roll off, skeletal horses would fall apart as I picked them up, and the skeleton chariots became nothing but plastic bits in the light and with the slightest bump. I do not remember who won in the end, other than it was not me. And when I got home, I had a shoebox full of broken plastic bits of skeleton minis with no hope of ever putting them back together. Sorry guys, you're not coming back from the grave anymore, was all I could say. I held on to that shoebox for a few years before I finally let it go and trashed it. By 2006, my friend who played Skaven and I were the last two still playing Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and after one last game at his place, I packed up most of my minis and donated them to a gaming group to share out among its members. I did not get back into the hobby until this year when I learned that the old world was being released. I returned to my beloved Tomb Kings, which I kept nearly out of all of nostalgia, and my friend who played Skaven had chosen the path of damnation and plays Slanesh worshipping Warriors of Chaos. I hope that this is not too long or difficult to read. It's pretty much the only hobby nightmare I've ever had, so it does make me wonder if I wasn't the hobby nightmare of anyone else. No, I don't think... I know I've said that in the past, right? If you've never had a hobby nightmare, check that you're not the hobby nightmare around everybody else. Most of the time, that's not the case, dude. Okay, how do I put this? Somebody the other week said this. They said on one of my videos, you know, the hobby seems quite toxic. Like, why would I get involved with this if people are like this? And I had to say, listen, mate, if hobby nightmares were so regularly available and common that they were a known thing that just happened all the time, there wouldn't be any point in me doing this show. Nobody would watch it, right? It'd be like me saying, the grass is green outside. People would be like, yeah, we know, right? Hobby Nightmares is popular because people live vicariously through the nightmares of others, because it means that if you've had like a slightly negative experience in the hobby, you listen to other people's experiences and you go, wow, at least it wasn't that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that bad. So like, hobby nightmares are not common. They are not common at all. You think about the amount of people who watch my videos, like the thousands of people who watch the videos. Yeah? Maybe one of those people, two of those people, has a hobby nightmare to send in. It just so happens that I'm getting decent views, and so, you know, I get about 5 to 10 hobby nightmares a week sent in to me, which is nice, and I like reading them, you know? But hobby nightmares themselves, in the wider hobby, aren't that common. So I wouldn't worry about you being the hobby nightmare, do you know what I mean? I've included a photo of one of my surviving minis from that set of Undead I bought so long ago from the 4th edition Undead Army box, I believe. He's a bit worse for wear, but I still think he looks neat. Okay, let's have a little look-see, shall we? Let's have a little look-see. There we go. Here's the boy. Let me get him on screen for you. I do love old minis. There's something really... Am I weird? I think there's something really Christmassy about, you know, Warhammer, an old school Warhammer. Maybe not Warhammer these days, not for us anyway. For young kids, maybe. Yeah, he looks cool, man. Yeah, for such an old mini, that's great. Nice freehand work as well. Damn, dude. Very nice. Very nice. I'm more impressed with your building mat there. That is cool. You will find that old greybeards have things like this modelling mat that are just super rare and worth quite a lot of money without them realising it. Absolutely super rare. Brilliant stuff. But I like the model. Love the freehand on the shield. Very, very, very well done. And he says, take care, North, and thank you for creating such an awesome channel for us all to listen to. No, cheers, man. Thank you very much. Alright, moving onwards. I'll leave the skelly there for a minute as we move on to our second hobby nightmare of the day, and that is from Vincent. Alright. Hello, Mr. Northern Exile. Hello from North Carolina. My name is Vincent. This is a 2-part hobby nightmare, so enjoy your British drinks whatever you like, and whenever you like. The first part takes place over a decade ago, somewhere around 2011. I can't believe that was a decade ago, dude. Ugh, it's over a decade ago. 13, 14 years ago now. I was in my early 20s and finding myself, and generally just enjoying my youth. What you mean by that is sleeping around, right? Finding yourself. Whenever somebody says they're finding themselves, they're being hoes. Men or women. In my experience. I'm just finding myself. Yeah, okay, yeah. Finding yourself falling into a lot of people is what you're doing. I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering at my local hobby shop. My friend group got me into board games like Summoner Wars, Dominion, Smash Up, and more. In general, it was a great time of finding new and exciting games to play. Needless to say, part of this hobby shop was Warhammer 40k. I loved the way the models looked, but I wasn't sure if I would like the hobby or if this was something I wanted to get into. I am an avid video gamer though, so I picked up Space Marine 1 for Xbox 360. I thought it was so cool that I decided to take the plunge. I bought a start collecting box of Chaos Space Marines that came with some Chosen, Possessed, a Rhino, and a Hellbrute. I put the models together, put a base coat of orange, my favourite colour, and did the trim on the Hellbrute, the model that sold me on Chaos Space Marines in the first place. And after this, I couldn't wait to play my first game. So I found somebody at my store who was willing to show me the ropes and how to play. This was over a decade ago, so I don't remember his name, so we will call him Jensen in channel tradition. I didn't have enough models to play a game, so he lent me some green prime Space Marines to fill in my army blanks. He said he was going to be playing a new army, the Tau, and this is where the nightmare begins. Well, yeah, Tau, yeah, 2011. Yeah, this is, oh dear. I said I didn't care about objectives, I just wanted to run at each other and have a deathmatch of sorts. Knowing what I know now, this was the worst possible matchup and game mode I could have done. This was a time before you could watch matches online, so I had no idea of what I was getting into. He set up the board with one piece of partial cover in the middle, and some in each of our deployment zones. After taking the first turn, I moved my pieces as far as I could, and tried to get my models behind the tiny piece of cover that was available. I was out of range to shoot with any of my guns. I asked if I could set up my models for Overwatch or something, so I could shoot if he charged me. He shook his head and said, they can't, but don't worry, I'm not going to be charging you. Yeah, don't worry, you know, I'm about to delete your entire army, Mr. Beginner. He proceeded in his turn to go straight into the shooting phase and open fire. He took up my Hellbrute first. Okay, I thought, maybe my guys in cover will fare better. He said, they just have an armor save because their armor save is better than the cover save. I thought to myself, what the hell? Why did I bother putting them in cover then? He proceeded to thin my army out with the remainder of his shots. I tried to get to him on my next turn and couldn't, so he finished me off on his following turn of fire. So, flipping through a codex and rolling tons of dice, I did nothing for 2 hours but take a huge L. At the end of the game, he clarified that he was wrong about the armor save, and I should have got a +1 to the save. Jensen let me know that my army shreds in melee, so if I could have made it to him, it would have been a different story. I was so bored and frustrated by this event that the models sat on the shelf until I moved again, and then I just gave them to the local store. Quick question for thought though, how many people have we lost from the hobby due to events like this? I would say quite a few. I would say, goodbye Skelly Man. I would say quite a few, unfortunately. I think, I'm not sure whether this was done maliciously to you by your opponent, or whether your opponent was just playing 40k. I've seen this come up more and more often now, where hobbyists just play a normal game of 40k against a newbie, and they play to win, right? So they say, well, I'm Tau, so at this stage, not now, but back then, you'd say, okay, I'm Tau, I'm going to sit at the back of the board and play like I'm trying to absolutely win at all cost, right? Because that's what you do. This is called Warhammer. Without actually playing the game, without actually thinking about who they're opposite from on the table. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people, maybe they're not doing this maliciously. They're just playing 40k with you, and they are thinking you'll pick up the rules as we play through osmosis. Do you know what I mean? Through some sort of warped osmosis. What these people don't seem to get is that you can't really teach a game that way, right? Because you're losing the other person indefinitely straight away. The first game should always be a 50-50 toss-up in the air of who's going to win. That's what you should be doing. Don't throw the game. Don't do that. But definitely, definitely, definitely make sure that your game is a 50-50 toss-up and we don't know who's going to win at any one point. That is what you should be doing in your first game. And keep it small. Do combat patrol or even smaller, right? Because that way, you're teaching the game to somebody. You're not using your entire session of gaming to teach this person the game, right? And they're getting a few games in with other people maybe as well. By playing low-stakes, fun games with low model numbers. It's less for them to remember, it's less for them to get their grips with, and you can have some fun doing it, right? And try not to play for blood. Sometimes just take what's in your combat patrol. Just take that. Literally just take that. Nice and balanced, or at least it's supposed to be, and fight against somebody who has a similar combat patrol. Unless they have like Thousand Suns or something, where it's mostly Zangors, which is kind of useless, but apart from that, you know? Have fun, is what I'm saying to you. And don't waste your entire hobby day on it. Nice small games, have fun, don't play for blood. That's how you do beginner games. It's literally how you do it. Anyway. Fast forward to 2023. I've got into 40k again, as all my other universities have kind of... let me start that again. Fast forward to 2023. I've gotten into 40k again, as all my other universes have kind of died. Marvel, Star Wars, etc. I saw the Space Marine 2 trailer and dived into the lore and started to love it again. I watched some battle reports to see about the tabletop game and realised how shafted I actually got. And after listening to some Hobby Nightmares, it solidified it for me. These people are not the hobby and I need to give it another try. Yeah, good. So, Hobby Nightmare number 2 is painting Chaos Space Marines, specifically World Eaters. I purchased the Exalted of the Red Angel box in February of this year. Pictures are attached, one of each model and the team together. Ooh, okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a little look. Dude, you're a beginner? Really? Now be honest, be honest. Did you get this commission painted or did you do this? That's annoying. That's annoying how good that is for a beginner. I can tell, no, this is probably you, you know, because there are mistakes here. Mistakes have been made, but it's such a good looking paint job, it doesn't matter. Damn, son. Like, if you carry on the way you're going... Wow. That looks cool. That looks cool. Yeah, get a better camera, dude. It deserves it. These models deserve a better camera. Your paint job is really good. So well done to you. I love that. I'm going to leave them up for the rest of the video. Right. I assembled the 10 Berserkers and 6 8-bound, but waited on putting Angron together. This way, if I didn't like the painting portion, I could try to get some money for him. I tried doing assemble style painting first. I painted all the red first. I got to model number 3 with the gold trim, and I knew I would lose interest. So I started going back and finishing one model at a time. I only got about an hour at a time to paint, so it would take about an hour for the gold trim, and then another hour for the rest of the colours. I had a change of mindset though. I look at the longer it takes to paint, the more I'm getting my money's worth. So, at 4 hours of Berserker, 5 hours on an 8-bound, and I lost track of Angron's time, that was money well spent, in my opinion. I hope this story brings back some of the people that this hobby has lost. If I ever get the chance to give somebody their first game, I'm going to do my best to make it a great experience for them. Give them lots of opportunities to kill my models, and maybe give them a +1 to hit on their melee and shooting when playing them. As you say often, the hobby belongs to us. It's up to us to bring people in and keep them in. Anyway, I've read through this 4 or 5 times, so I hope it reads well. It does, man. Very well done. Read your emails before you send them, or you will incur North's wrath. I love you for a long time. Cheers. Cheers, man. Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, that was awesome. Again, it's not so much... You can not read them before you send them in. I'm not going to get, like, really salty. But at the same time, sometimes, if I've had a long day, you know, and I'm getting to the end of a Hobby Nightmare session, and then all of a sudden there's this gobbledygook email that somehow found its way that I've missed, that's come through to Hobby Nightmares, yeah, that does get on my nerves. But anyway, on to the next. Hey, Northern. It's from Justin, this one. A lurker of your page here, Justin. I have a short but sweet story, yet still a nightmare. Well, a nightmare for me at least. I must insist on you getting in your tea now rather than later, on resisting the urge to sip. I'd hate for you to spit out laughing at my misfortune. Alright, I'll do what I'm told. Alright. He says, let me start off by telling you, I'm a newbie when it comes to Warhammer, and I'm mainly into the hobby side, painting my models rather poorly, but it keeps my hands busy. I played a few games of 10th using my Tyranids from the Leviathan box. Yes, I got in on 10th. Such a sweet summer child that I am. But I mainly stick to one-page rules anyway. Like many people in the hobby, I have few friends, let alone friends who will play the game with me. One of the few friends who will play with me is Ben, and Ben has a few thousand points worth of Space Marines, Death Watch to be precise, so he loves fighting against my Tyranids. Just prolonging his assimilation into the hive mind, if you ask me. Star gods be praised. Dude, you've fallen hook, line and sinker for the hobby. Well done to you, sir. Well done. Ben had been pressuring me to keep expanding my Tyranid army and ignoring my Space Marines. I started out slow, buying second-hand Tyranids, a gargoyle here and there. Then I found Mr. Tickles, a Death Leaper. Then it was on. I had to buy some Biovores, and so they had to have some friends too, right? So some Neurolictors, Tyrannofexes, and Warriors were all brought in the same week. The missus was not amused. I love it. I love it when hobby pros get into trouble with the missus, man. It's so funny. They're just coming back with these toy soldiers. I've got this new hobby that I like to do. So some smut books were ordered to keep the peace. Good. Yeah, get us some, you know, I ran away with a sailor books. Yeah. Nonsense. Ben was excited. I had an army of 2,000 points for him to beat up. We played maybe 2 more games until I saw her. The Norn Assimilator. She was so beautiful, I just had to have her. So I bought her and kept her friend the Hive Tyrant and tried to hide the purchases from my wife by distracting her with ice cream. I did not succeed in my stealth roll, and she almost immediately found out, glaring at me as she took another bite of ice cream and left the room. It took almost 2 weeks, but I got both assembled and base coated, ready to finally make the Death Watch to reveal the crybabies that they are. I called Ben. You ready to get your ass whooped this weekend, dude? I asked. Ben. Nah, but how about next weekend? Me. Damn. Deep breath. Next weekend, sure, it's on. Oh, and one more thing. Yeah? Bring 3,000 points, I said. Ben squeals girlishly. Oh, I love this. I love this. This must be why your wife's quite patient, man. Gotta be. You can't see the joy on a loved one's face that this hobby brings. And that my missus is a kryptonite. I'm telling you now. It is absolutely a kryptonite. If I'm thinking about buying a model, and she's like, oh, you know, maybe hold off on that. When we go into the store and she can see how excited I am to be looking at models, she's like, oh, go on then, you know, and I'm like, yes, yeah, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, she knows my money's my money. If everything's paid off and everything's done, I can do what I want with it, right? But I'd still rather, like, she get enthused about the hobby that I'm doing, right? It still means a lot to me that she says, you know what? This means a lot to you and you're really enjoying it, go for it. And by the way, she finds 40k really cool as well, and she's trying to get into it eventually, I think, this Christmas. So hopefully we can get her to get into the spirit of things. But yeah, I can see if a loved one. I always say this, you know, don't make purchasing decisions on whether your wife wants you to or not. That's some lame ass shit to do. Don't do it. But on the other side of that, it is really, really, really cool when said wife or partner actually does care about the hobbies that you're doing and sees the joy it's bringing you and it changes their mind to it. That's love. You know? If they can see that the joy something's giving you, they go, do you know what? I can't even be mad that he's spending the money on this. It brings him such joy. You know? As long as everything else is paid for, your mortgage, rent, food, kids, whatever, as long as all that's paid for, whatever's left is yours, and you do what you want with it, you know? Anyway. The battle took place in the hobby store. Some Marines being torn apart, but the main casualties were my bugs. It was the best of times, only for a dark cloud to roll over the table. She had arrived. The destroyer of worlds. Sarah, Ben's long-distance girlfriend and sometimes bystander at the shop. She had stalked him to the shop in hopes of surprising him, and surprise him she did. With his back turned, she pounced with all the agility of a lictor upon his back and started kissing his cheek. Ben stumbled a bit, but eventually her gigantic fat ass, combined with the surprise attack, overwhelmed him and they both fell. My Tyranids acting as a pillow to catch their fall. There were no survivors. What are you doing? Anger was gripping me. Passions of long-lost lovers gripping Ben and Sarah, and shock and horror gripping the witnesses. Ben and Sarah both got up. Pieces of what was left of my once proud assimilator embedded in Ben. When Sarah had gotten up, a cheer was made by the bystanders, for they noticed something I did not. Sarah's fat ass was actually just pregnant. Ben pulled Sarah out of the shop where most people watched through the window, Ben celebrating the news of her arrival. To clarify, everybody other than Ben found out she was pregnant that day. Ben knew all along. Her arrival was the surprise for him. The shop owner came over to help collect the pieces and see what was salvageable. Dude, this is the worst. Did they not even apologise? You kidding me? The assimilator was toast. Death Leaper was so broken we couldn't even tell what pieces belonged to it. The Hive Tyrant was salvageable, and so were the Biovores. A lot of Gaunts no longer have tongues, but the guns were easily retached. I left the store with my army remains in a bag, passing Ben who tried to stop me, but I brushed him off, but still said congrats with the baby. He tried texting me later, and I responded with please just let me cool off. He respected that and gave me some space. I can't blame you, dude. I'll be honest with you. If he already knew she was pregnant, right? Okay. If he didn't, then I can kind of forgive him for not, like, you know, caring about your models. But if he did, and he just surprised that she's there, I don't know, dude. I'd be like, oh, listen, I'm really glad you're here. Let's go outside. And then you come back in and you apologise to your friend. Say, listen, dude, can I reimburse you? Like, what can I do? Like, what can I buy? I'm really sorry, you know? That's what you do as a friend. You don't sod off your friend and go outside and play kissy-kissies with your girlfriend, right? You go outside, you thank her for coming, you say, this is amazing, I'm so glad to see you, but we did just smash all of, you know, all of his models there. So, I'm just going to rush back in and offer to pay for them. Don't worry, it's not your fault, it was an accident, right? But I'm going to go back in and offer to pay for them. So you go back in, you apologise, you have to pay for them, and you get it out of the way, right? So you can all be friends again. What you don't do is stay outside smooching your girlfriend whilst your mate is standing there with thousands of pounds worth of models smashed because of your woman. Do you know what I mean? It just not good behaviour. Anyway, it was about a week later, I texted him asking how Sarah and the baby are doing. He said, great. I asked Sarah to marry me and she said yes. Me, I'm happy for you. Ben, listen, about last week, I'm sorry about the army. I don't have enough now, but I want to replace it for you. Good lad. Good lad. I like this guy. Okay, he's back in my good books. Back in the good books. Me, oh, I was definitely upset about it and would appreciate it if you did replace them, but listen, you have a kid on the way and a wedding coming up. You need the money. So if and when you have the money to spare for the hobby, please send some my way. But until then, focus on your new family, dude, alright? Ben, that's a relief to hear, and great of you to understand. Anyways, Sarah is moving in only a couple of months away from delivering. I won't have time for them, and I don't think they'll be safe here with the little one. Do you mind taking care of the Marines until I replace your army? And that is how I went from a proud Xenos player to a dirty loyalist. Cheers, Justin. That's the most roundabout way of changing your army ever. That is the most roundabout way of changing your army. I know a few Tyranid fans who watch the channel who will not be pleased. Dude, go back to your Tyranid at some point. Don't let that stop you from doing the army that you love. Alright? Go back to your Norn Queen. Go back to all of that stuff. Go have fun. Go have fun, alright? Don't be... This is a marriage of convenience, you and Space Marines. You know what I mean? If you like the Space Marines, fair enough. But I would still say go back to the Tyranids. Go back to your first love, my friend, at some point, alright? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I will be back tomorrow with a lovely video with Amber King. We're going to be discussing what is going wrong with Chaos right now in the current setting and lore of 40k. So join us for that one. I love you all very much. Love you all a long time. Speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.